So good morning, my name is Miranda Stiers and I am a prevention specialist here at the partnership, and my pronouns are they, them, theirs, and I am joining from Nisenan land in Sacramento. I'm going to give my co-presenter a moment to introduce themselves. A couple of things: that the webinar is being recorded. You can expand your audio for call-in information if you have any issues with your sound. Video can be disabled, but encourage folks to be on camera. We are a small and mighty group, and it's always helpful to be able to see others' faces. You can click and see who all the participants are. If you have comments or questions, you can type those in the chat or also unmute yourself. Closed captioning is also available on your toolbar. All right. So for today, we're going to be doing our opening circle. Then we're going to be going through our conversation on planning for a virtual SAAM, Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Carissa with ValorUS is joining us to share the Meet the Movement Toolkit. And we will also have some presenters from Waymakers. It'll be Sabrina, Hughes, and Nicole Zarate, who will be joining us soon, sharing on their plans, and Angela Kim will be sharing Women's Shelter of Long Beach plans for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and we hope to hear what other folks have planned as we go. So we acknowledge that we are on the traditional territories and homelands of California Native peoples, and these nations include over 120 recognized tribes and many other non-recognized tribes that are very culturally diverse. So we thank these nations for their generosity, and we keep them in our hearts and thoughts as we are in this space today, this week, and every day. So we're going to have folks type in your name, agency, and location, and I will put into the chat where you can find whose land you're occupying. Give me one moment. And if folks want to just speak, then you are absolutely welcome to unmute yourselves as well. All right, and with that, as folks are introducing themselves, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Carissa. Thank you.
Hey there, hi Miranda. Okay, nice to meet everyone here. Hey Jess.
Hey Carissa, good to see you.
Good to see you too. No, it's always, I was just chatting with Miranda and it's like, you know, I know we're still in a pandemic and I know many of us are a little zoomed out. So I'll try to keep it as lighthearted and exciting and make sure that we're all just showing up as best we can. So I'm happy to be here. I'm Carissa Gutiérrez with Valor, formerly known as CalCasa. So we've been doing quite a bit of work with the partnership these past few years, and we certainly see through reciprocal advancement how it is that our movements are incredibly interconnected. So happy to be here with all of you to talk to you about Sexual Awareness Month, but also to get to know you a little bit and to get a sense of how we can support our dual agencies during this month. So we know you do incredible work, and we want the rest of the world to know too. So with that, Miranda, do you just want me to like jump in, or did you? Okay, great. Perfect. So our toolkit, what we do actually every year, first of all, I don't know if we could launch some of these polls, Miranda, if we're good to do that, or let's go ahead and launch a few of those. I'm just gonna ask you a few questions just to kind of get you warmed up, but then we'll have a conversation. So Miranda, if you wouldn't mind the first question. Thanks. So it's a bit of a yes or no. I'm not seeing it. Is it showing up? Oh, there we go. There we go. So I've been with formerly CalCasa, now Valor, for a little over a year. So this is my second SAAM officially. But I'd like to get a sense from the people in the room. Is this your first SAAM, or no? You have many, under your belt. This is not your first rodeo. The next question would be: do you have events planned for SAAM? There's no right or wrong answer. I know that for many of us, we may be the only person that actually plans or executes any sort of event planning or social media engagement. So sometimes that can be a heavy lift. And also, I wanted to get a sense if you are planning events, what types of events you're planning, and also what kind of support. So I'll leave some time for that, but I would like to also kind of discuss with all of you to get a sense of where you're at. And also, Miranda, I'm not sure if this is a precedent, but if anyone wants to unmute themselves and talk, I'm perfectly comfortable with that. So we can just, it's just a conversation.
Very much in favor of folks unmuting and participating.
Yeah. I know. We do miss that, don't we? Like being in a public setting with a bunch of people that are not actually muted. So reintegration is going to be fun. All right.
I'm going to go ahead and end the polling so we can share.
Okay. Okay, great. So for many of you, or at least half of you, a little over half, this is not your first SAM. A majority of you, or at least half of you, have some things planned for SAM. And what types of events? Virtual events. Makes sense. We're in a pandemic. A lot of us are working from home as well, or trying at least to engage with our audiences remotely. So that absolutely makes sense. And what types of events? That's great. So I didn't quite see the support question answered. I apologize. I just kind of skimmed
It's
over.
okay.
Okay.
People power was the big thing that folks were needing
People
during
power?
this time.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I hear you. So we actually issued a statement. Sorry, not a statement. Here I am, kind of like all my marbles are in several places. But we did actually send out an assessment to our rape crisis centers about 2 months ago to also ask them similar questions. So were they planning events? What sort of support would they need? And what we found was that, yeah, 90% or more were needing support with social media graphics, but also connecting the work that we do with sexual violence prevention and domestic violence prevention to other movements. We have seen in light of the George Floyd uprising and, you know, especially with the events in Georgia last week, that we have an imperative to be making this connection to other movements as well. But I also know that all of you have been doing this work. So you have been working with LGBTQIA+ groups. You have been working with immigrant audiences as well, or incarcerated survivors, or perhaps other family type units. You are making this connection. So how do we actually bring that out and tease that out a little bit and really elevate that what we do is not siloed? And in order for us, as our kind of name sort of says, advance equity and end sexual, how are we advancing equity in the work that we do? So how are we connecting with all these different movements to advance equity so that we can actually prevent and end sexual violence? That's something we're bringing attention to in April. So I know I only have so many minutes with you, so I'm just going to kind of gloss over some of these points. If there's one takeaway that you get from today is that we will be releasing a toolkit with social media graphics for the month of April next week to all of our rape crisis centers and dual agencies, and I will make sure this gets back to all of you as well. So just stay tuned as we start to post on our social media when that release happens, but we will have a series of tools. So for now, I'll just explain to you a little bit about our toolkit, what the components are, and exploring the intersections in our work. So I certainly want to leave it there. Now, as mentioned, we did issue a SAM assessment survey. So we had, I believe all of our rape crisis centers were able to chime in, a majority of which are dual agencies, to report on this assessment and let us know where they were at with SAM planning. The inspiration for this SAM toolkit is based on our 2017 SAM toolkit, which talked about the intersections of our work with other movements. What we've done is significantly overhauled the content to make sure it is relevant to what we are facing now. We understand we're in a very transformative space. And so we have an opportunity to really demonstrate how it is that we are working with other movements and currently connect with them as well. Now, our vision is, of course, to advance equity and end sexual violence. And a lot of emphasis is placed on equity. So understanding the disparities and the disinvestment in our communities and how that exacerbates and leads to cases of greater incidence of sexual and domestic violence. So we are focusing a great deal there. And when we talk about prevention, those are those moments where we get to interfere. That's when we get to step in and say, in order to prevent violence, where is the inequity in our community that we're trying to address? So we cannot prevent sexual violence or domestic violence without addressing those inequities as well. So the Toolkit Components, this is actually a workbook as well, is going to touch on these different areas: LGBTQ+, racial equity, economic justice, dignity, not incarceration, immigrant justice, health equity, and disability justice. And correct me if I'm wrong, Miranda or Jess, but economic justice is something I see come up a lot when we're talking about domestic violence as well. Racial equity as well, LGBTQ+. So I certainly see these come up within the DV field quite a bit. And so that's why there's just an enormous overlap between the inequities that lead for these forms of violence to play out in our families. So we're really excited that within the toolkit, we'll actually have talking points. There will be statistics. There will be certain examples as well of how this plays out, and even pitches for how you would even make that connection between the work we do with that argument. But also those will all be pieces, as well as next steps and resources. So there will be a series of links to other like organizations or reports that you will be able to immediately extract and repost or read about. So we are including those three major components. It's sort of making the connection, how we talk about it, and where you can get more information about that. There will also be graphics. So we do have a whole calendar for the month of April, and it will be produced in both Spanish and English that you can be posting with a lot of this information. So if you're one of those people who I'm the only person at my organization who handles the social media channels, I do not have the capacity to be planning a SAAM event, follow us. Follow our other organizations as well, repost, use this content to elevate your stories. So you can begin with posting something about a statistic that links our movement to LGBTQ+ justice and rights, but then you can talk about how you're actually doing it. So consider it like a building block. You can build on this. There will also, those are sort of the elements there. But I did want to get a sense from the group here, and please unmute yourself or add into the chat of that list, and I can go back to it if you like. Which categories most align with the communities you are working with? Worried about interhepatic circulation. So I did hear someone unmute themselves. Or you can drop it into the chat, it's totally fine. I won't put anyone on the spot. I know we're on a Thursday, but. Okay.
She won't, but I will if folks.
That's up to you.
Would like.
I want the person to do it though.
There we go. We just got to give them a second to start typing. So I'm seeing LGBTQ+ equality, racial equity, and disability justice.
Okay, great. So that's great. And I know that in the poll, I asked you what kind of support you needed, and some of you did kind of talk about talking points, but mainly it's the people power. So the point, and I know that I'm trying to stay on target, Miranda, for your time, but if someone wanted to share how they currently do their work, or they're able to do prevention work with this specific community, would you be so kind as to share that? So is there a group of students that you work with? Is there an organization in your community? Could anyone speak to any sort of event or resource or training that you've done? I'm sorry, Miranda, I can't see the chat, so I'm hoping if someone's typing in.
Hi, this is Sabrina from Center for Community Solutions. Our prevention team has been lucky enough that we have, we're less than a full department at the moment, but for the past few years, we've tended to be a full department with several educators and other folks in the prevention team, which I know a lot of folks don't have a full team like that. And we've also had specific funding and grants that have included in them, the requirements to partner with other organizations. So in San Diego, our organization has partnered with the San Diego LGBT Resource Center, San Diego Pride. And so some of our SAAM events include like, specific presentations that we're giving to our partner organizations, as well as like virtual events that are in partnership with our partner organizations. And then we also have a grant at CCS to work specifically with disabled community in San Diego. And so we do have partners like the Deaf Community Center and the San Diego Resource Center for other disabled communities in San Diego. So I think a lot of our partnerships are coming from working with partner organizations with relationships that we have been building on for the past few months and few years.
Sabrina, thank you so much for sharing that. I love that is, the community partnerships aspect. It's also something that you really highlighted there. And when we're talking about the work that our rape crisis centers or dual agencies are doing, we really do talk about all of us as California's safety net, or really being the core network for providing services and prevention efforts to our communities. And so when we start to build out those networks by working with community partners, we're actually saying we don't just, work in our own little silo. We're a part of this community. We're invested in it. And Jess can, step in if you like, but one of the things we saw with, advocating on behalf of dual agencies for policy asks was that every policymaker we spoke with first wanted to be informed what prevention was. And it's like, how are we so entrenched in this work and having to explain that every time? So Sexual Assault Awareness Month, or any month really, because really we're bringing awareness to this case all year long, is elevating those stories. What does prevention look like? It means partnering with these communities. It means, doing this work. It means showing up and being available. It means finding those moments that aren't necessarily domestic violence or sexual violence, but preventing it from happening in the first place. And so I really appreciate your example, because that is a story we want to elevate and say, look how we partner with this organization because we want to live in a safer and more inclusive community. So that's when I think of Sexual Assault Awareness Month and see all these stories, it's really, we're painting a collective picture of what we can and are doing to create these safer and more inclusive communities. So that is certainly helping to make sure that the people that we want to be paying attention do get it. So it helps us a great deal, but also we want to know how we can support you in elevating those stories. So Sabrina, the story that you just depicted, it's like, yes, Valor has a current partnership with the Arc of California, where we'll be pushing out a lot of disability justice pieces in the next year. We certainly want to know what you're doing in your community. So there are certainly pieces like that we want to be elevating. So sharing stories like that, very important. And it may take different forms. Could be a tweet, could be a Facebook post, could be a picture, but these things matter. And I think that as you're doing them, I highly encourage you to be tagging your own coalition. So if there are spaces there, we want to notice, we want to see it, we want to pull from it, we want to work with you as well.
I was just going to lift up, Jillian had shared, we have several student staff members who work with our prevention educator to put on programs. And we also partner with our local rape crisis center when possible. For SAAM, we're bringing a speaker, Ignacio Rivera, putting on a sound healing workshop, hosting Take Back the Night, and collaborating with other CSU campuses for a virtual clothesline project social media campaign.
Love it. When you do that, tag us. I was like, post it and tag us. We are a resource, which brings me to one of my last points before, handing it back over to Miranda. It's aside from the toolkit itself and giving you some of the foundational pieces that you can pick and choose from to do this sort of awareness work, who can you be following to get more information and more pieces? So NSVRC, the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, I'm sure all of you are familiar, but I just had to drive that point home. They really are doing a great deal of online engagement and have SAAM toolkits and a calendar. following them and reposting it is honestly one of the easiest lifts you can do for yourself during this time, so that you can be highlighting sort of the awareness that's being spread around Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We also have past toolkits on our website. If you wanted to take a look, you could do that, but we'll make sure that you also receive the updated one in the next week. Prevent Connect. I'm sure you're all familiar, but let me remind you, it is a project of Valor, and they have a series of webinars, web conferences, web trainings, podcasts, and resources that you are more than welcome to share and distribute as well. And also a series of events that you can attend. So if you wanted your staff to go to these, if you wanted to attend yourself or wanted other people to be aware of past events, you can go there as well. So I once, Miranda heard me say this, I was like, I think of SAAM as a potluck. You show up, you don't have to bring a dish, but you certainly take what you need. So for SAAM, so long as you're here, that's the most important part. And so with that, I'm just gonna sign off, and I'll pass it back to Miranda. But please note that I've taken note of everyone that's here. You will be receiving the toolkit. And please, at the very least, if you have a question, I'm sure you'll go to Miranda or to Jess, but always feel free to reach out to us as well. We'd love to help you elevate your stories. It really is a collective effort to make sure that we continue to support all of you so you can continue to support your communities. So with that, thank you. And if there are any questions, I'll be on for the remainder of that call. And I'll just put my information into the chat.
And thank you so much. Really excited to see the toolkit and engage in more conversations with folks and see what all we're doing. So I do want to keep us moving along. If there are questions, please feel free to unmute and ask, or if folks want to do it in the chat, that's all good too. I know sometimes it's that nice break where you're not having to lead the conversation sometimes when folks come into these. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our crew from Waymakers.
Perfect. Oh, cool. And I can share my screen.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, but just to get started before Nicole jumps into our little presentation about what we're doing for SAAM, I'm Sabrina. I pronoun she, her, hers. I myself and Nicole, we work for Waymakers in Orange County, and we are the Rape Crisis Center for all of Orange County. We've been working from home for over a year now and are continuing to do so. So everything that we're doing is all going to be virtual through a variety of platforms. I'm the prevention coordinator and Nicole is our prevention education specialist. So we are a mighty team of us and the volunteer coordinators, so 3 of us doing the primary prevention stuff at our agency. So Nicole, I'll turn it over to you to get us started.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to dive right in. This is a flyer that Sabrina put together, and we sent it out to all of our community partners and we have been, as soon as we could. That way everybody was aware of the fact that we were holding multiple presentations or open houses or any different ways that people can get engaged throughout the month, and asking people to set aside their, set it on their calendars. And oh, thank you, Sabrina. Yeah, Sabrina does a great job. So this was the PDF that was that was sent to all of our, and I'll get more into detail in a few slides down, but this was just something we wanted to show that we had sent out, along with just some like, hey, we hope to see you there, all that kind of stuff. And if you could go to the next slide, unless there was something else you wanted to add, Sabrina. No, okay. So we wanted to start off with showing you what we were able to do for SAAM 2020 versus now what we were able to do for 2021. So SAAM 2020, right? We were sent home on, I think it was the 16th, and our first day at home was the 17th of March. And so not giving us very much time at all to shift to online, if at all, right? I mean, we had our calendar absolutely full in April. And one by one, and it made sense, right? But one by one, we were hearing from schools and colleges and universities and everyone saying, we're going to cancel. We're really hoping to do it at the end of April. At that time, we actually thought that we could do something at the end of April, if we remember that time. So we were holding out hope, not canceling things on that last week, thinking we could still do Denim Day and all that. So kind of a stroll down the lane, but we we, realized, okay, we do need to do something, right? We also, as you can see on that last bullet, we wanted to make sure that we balance the fact that, yes, we were going through a global crisis. Things were completely upside down, right? And something that we'd never, ever had before, but we still wanted to, honor SAAM, but then also honor the space that people were in. And so, like I had just said, our calendar had all these canceled events, right? So we had we decided to do a weekly roundup, which is where we would have been had things had not been canceled that week. So first week, if we were going to go to Fullerton College, and also, Cal State Fullerton and UCI, all these different things. We put up old photos, ones that we did have access to, and we put up our weekly roundup on throughout the week, saying this is where we would have been, this is what we were doing this time last year. Just trying to keep that like positive, that positivity up. So we did that every week. We did a virtual open house. We threw together a really nice open house where we had our executive director, our program supervisor. We all took turns speaking about why SAAM was important to us. We all gave little clips about what SAAM means to us. We had, like I said, our ED talked about, things are changing now, but don't worry, we're still here for you. We're still here to support survivors. We haven't forgotten about this really important month that we look forward to. And then we had some survivors give us some of their, whether it be their witness statement or their victim statement, or something that they wanted to write, that's to say that, how working with us and having an advocate had helped them through their journey. And that was all in our virtual open house. And we invited people in our community to view it. And we very much, we think it was a really good, way to at least honor SAAM and talk about what we would have been doing. We talked about Denim Day, all that kind of stuff. Our clothesline project, right? Something we look forward to putting up all throughout the community in Orange County in April. We decided to do a YouTube video, which was like a Google slideshow of all of past photos. We did have a limited amount of photos because all of our stuff was on our servers at the office. We hadn't had a chance to go back yet, but we did what we could. We, sent out an email to all of the advocates, all of the volunteers, and said, if you have something, please send it to us so that we can have this like virtual slideshow that people can go to if they feel like this nostalgia, that they want to, see this open house or this clothesline project, excuse me. And last but not least, we engage with the community. We have a social media committee. Chris, I feel horrible that you only have one person, but we have a little mighty team of about 7 people. And we had a very, serious discussion about, okay, we want to honor SAAM. This is something we do. We're the right crisis center of Orange County after all. But with what's going on now, what is more important, people's mental health, people's stability, or honoring SAAM? And we wanted to make sure that we met it in the middle, somewhere where we respect both. And so we decided to have these check-ins on Instagram using that question that says, be honest, where are you regarding SAAM 2020? Are you taking care of yourself and just pushing that to the back burner? If that's so, great, we want to hear it. Or how are you going to engage? If you do have the capacity to engage, how are you going to? Because we didn't even know how people were going to, right? We want to know how people were going to engage. That way we could meet them where they're at. Maybe it would give us some ideas about how to interact with people throughout the rest of the month. So this is that screenshot you see on the right-hand side is a first of many where we asked and got feedback, whether it be from our volunteers, whether it be from people in the community about where they were. And we felt like it was a really good meeting point at that time. And the next one, please, Sabrina. And so fast forward, a year later, we're starting conversations in early February. Things are so up in the air. It's vaccines are rolling out, but then they're stunted, and the tiers are moving down, but then we go back up. So it was really difficult to determine. We knew it would be virtual, but it was difficult to determine with a strict lockdown, like what maybe if we had a little bit more flexibility. And we've noticed, Sabrina and I, since about, I would say maybe January, December, we take a look at our insights, at our statistics for our social media, and across all the platforms, we notice a lower audience engagement. We hadn't necessarily lost followers or anything like that, but the followers that we did have, we saw that like the likes and the views had gone down, and it was across the board. It wasn't, these specific posts are doing well and these are not. It was just, we think maybe people were taking a break on Social media, you know, we didn't lose that follower, but that follower is just not on, you know, on social media. They're deciding for their mental health to not engage so much. So we were trying to think about how can we, you know, last year, you know, using social media was the best way that we can engage. And if at this point, people aren't engaging on social media for their own mental health, then what else can we do? And another thing is, you know, the burnout was weighing heavily on us. We wanted to make sure that we engaged in, you know, did as much as we could for SAAM, but we had noticed that, especially, you know, on our social media committee, people were asking to do with, you know, a little bit less, right? Like I could barely make ends meet in meeting my clients and supporting them and doing whatever I need to do, and adding this extra weight of SAAM and social media looming over us was just something that we wanted to also make sure that we balanced. And last but not least, our program director, Vanessa Reina, and our prevention supervisor, our prevention supervisor was going on maternity leave. So, you know, all this planning, it was also going to be, okay, our supervisor is also not going to be here in addition to all of these other things that I had just talked about. So, so that was a few of our obstacles, right? Those things we had to take into consideration. And so we decided to, you know, because of the burnout, because of the, you know, the fact that we wanted to make sure that we kept our coworkers, you know, happy, we decided to use some things that we had used before, you know, and reinvent them, and then also make some new things. So Sabrina and I will be doing a sexual assault 101 presentation, a kind of like a little podcast feel. It's going to be recorded, but we're going to just go over like the basics of sexual assault, about consent, about myths, about bystander intervention, you know, and just kind of going over that, giving you a nice little base before the rest of SAAM. This presentation for parents, this is something that our advocates had done late last year. It's a presentation called Bodies and Boundaries, where parents are, you know, shown, you know, best practices about how to talk to their children about boundaries, about their bodies, and about how, you know, awareness and like confidence, right? To you know, to be able to speak up and say something if something makes them feel uncomfortable, about knowing, you know, the correct anatomical terms for their body parts, you know, all of these things that help children feel like sex and their private parts are not taboo, that we can talk about them, and, you know, all of that stuff to help parents. So we recorded that and had shown it at the end of last year on YouTube with the link at certain times. We had let it be, you know, viewable to people. And so we decided to bring that back. So on the second week of SAAM, we're going to have like a re-showing of that presentation. And then we're also going to have that clothesline project. Sabrina this year, instead of us doing like a Google slideshow, she's making a Prezi, something really fun and, you know, fun to look at for, you know, visually stimulating for visual learners. So we kind of upped that this year. And then Denim Day, yes, Sabrina, we'll show you that in a moment. And then on Denim Day, we did this last year, but we are going to ask for you all as well to join us on sending your photos for Denim Day. That way on social media, we can put up on our stories and have something going throughout the day. So those of our followers who do feel like they can engage, have something nice to look forward to, and they can see that, you know, we're very much there promoting Denim Day. And so that's all asynchronous. This is things that people can watch on their own time. The Sexual Assault 101 presentation is going to be available from April 1st to April 8th, the following week. So they can catch it on their own time. Same thing for the presentation for parents. It'll be viewable that entire week, and you can watch it at your own leisure, right? You know, if you can have time during the day, great. If you can't do it until the evening, also great. And the synchronous, or the things that we will be doing live, that you have to sign in at a certain time to be with us, that's going to be the virtual open house taking place the first Tuesday of the month. And then our IG Live, which is going to be the last Friday of the month. We've been having those monthly, and now we're kind of changed that to quarterly. So we're going to be having an IG Live about SAAM with a community member. So those are two things that we're going to have, you know, at that time that you have to sign on. But the rest we've decided, you know, let's make it easily accessible for everyone else. We all have really weird schedules, and, you know, maybe we just don't feel like watching a sexual assault presentation on, you know, on the 1st. That's okay. You know, you have until the 8th to do so. So that's what we have so far. And this is where I will go into a little bit more detail about what it is that we're hosting. So same as what was on that first white flyer, this is what we'll be putting up on our social media. So our colors are a teal and a, you know, blue and an orange. So you'll notice that our profile tends to be these specific colors used in different, varieties over and over again, and the green as well. That green is our color as well. And so this is where we kind of tell you the link is available from until when, a little bit of a background about who's going to be hosting that specific event, whether it's, on Zoom or YouTube live stream. And so this is just a nice little, again, Sabrina's amazing. Her graphics, like the way it's all written out, we just think it's very visually appealing. And we've been promoting as much as we could so that, people are aware and they're excited to join us.
Thanks, Nicole. So yeah, and we already actually yesterday we had a social media committee meeting where pretty much the calendar for SAAM and our social media is set. So for each of these events, there are individual graphics that are going to be going up on like the day, for example, the link to the Sexual Assault 101 presentation becomes available, and then it'll go up again the day before it closes to let people know that that is available. And as Nicole said, just in regards to like back in February, there was like a lot of staff burnout. And so we just wanted to, rather than try and be super ambitious with having a bunch of events and having to worry about advertisement and spreading the word and getting people there in the moment, we thought it would be easier to do some of these asynchronous opportunities. And so, as Nicole said, kind of the biggest thing that we have that's going to be happening live in the moment is our virtual open house, which is actually an event that mimics something that we typically do in person. So typically the first Tuesday of the month is our volunteer meetings. And so in April, what we would typically do in person is the volunteers and all their loved ones are invited to come to our office. We have t-shirts from recent clothesline project submissions all around the office. And so people can walk around, look at the new additions to the clothesline project. They can work on putting together like teal ribbons. And we also do a presentation about the history behind SAAM and a bunch of common events. So we're kind of mirroring that structure and adding a few extra elements to the online version this year. And so we're going to, again, be having a welcome. Our executive director is going to speak, and then our victim assistance programs director is going to close out. But this year, we're going to have a little section about services we're providing during COVID. Again, we'll be bringing up the history of certain events. And then I'm really pleased, actually, this year, we're able to have more clients be able to participate in the Survivor Speak Out. So because it is kind of a year in and people are more comfortable using platforms, and how we're going to be doing this is all of the speakers are going to be in a Zoom together, and then Zoom has the option that you can live stream over YouTube. So that way, it can be, it was what we did last year and what we're going to be continuing to this year to create kind of a level of like distance and safety, particularly for the survivors that do choose to log in. We don't want people to be coming in with, inappropriate comments or Zoom bombing or anything. So that's kind of the easiest way to be able to manage that. And so we have 3 survivors that have confirmed to speak live on the platform. And then we have another Zoom setup that then they'll go in with 2 of our advocates and kind of debrief the experience afterwards. Then we have 1 pre-recorded video that's going to be submitted that will show. And then we have 1 letter from an incarcerated survivor that one of our advocates will read on the live stream. And then we'll have a couple of kind of cultural change moments. So we have a little bit about bystander intervention skills. We're going to be talking about prevention, our volunteer program, to kind of leave it on a note of how can people get involved in our movement, especially because we've opened up again the opportunity for new volunteers to come in. We did our first 48-hour training virtually over January and February. And so we're glad to be able to welcome in new volunteers, and we figured out a way to do that even with social distancing. And as Nicole mentioned, we also are doing the clothesline project I think it's a little cooler this year. I'm going to be doing again like a YouTube and an IGTV, and I have a lot more access to different photos because I've actually been able to go to the office and get photos off of our screen and stuff. But the other thing that's really cool is, and I'm going to put the link to the Prezi into the chat, but I'll pull it up on my computer as well. But if people are not familiar with Prezi as a platform. It's kind of like a more interactive version of PowerPoint. And there's other things you can do on there that are like infographics and videos, most of which I don't know how to use. But the one piece that I do know how to use is a presentation like this, where you can click on different areas of the screen and different things will pop up. So this is nowhere near finished, but this is kind of generally what it's going to look like. So it has a map of Orange County. There's a dot for the different colleges that we typically go to display the clothesline project. And so, for example, you'll be able to click on like Concordia University and you'll see pictures from Concordia. And then here I'm going to add actual pictures of shirts that have been made there. And then I'll have along the side here, there's a little dot for different resources. And so different things can pop up that folks can access while they're viewing the clothesline, except for if I know how to work it. To go back to the start, please. And then there'll be like the color code with different examples of shirts. And so that's going to be kind of our cool, new and improved kind of interactive clothesline that we'll be able to display for the public. So like I said, nowhere near finished, but it's a cool way of kind of being able to interactively have, especially for our college partners, for them to be able to actually click on the college or university and kind of see what does the clothesline project look on that campus. And so I'm excited about that, excited to keep working on it. And I will say my knowledge of Prezi is pretty limited. So if you have questions, I might not be able to answer them, but I can try if anyone is interested and wants to learn about the platform. It is free. I think the only like caveat with it being free is that all your presentations are public to everyone. You can't have like a private presentation, which is not an issue, right? Because it's going to be for the community. And then this year, we're also offering the opportunity for our community members to be able to make shirts. And so if they have access to transportation, they're able to pick up and drop off supplies from our office. They can also make physical t-shirts that will be included in future in-person displays of the clothesline project as well. So that's a little bit about what we're doing throughout the month. Like I said, we kind of decided to choose like per week, we're going to have something big that's going on. And then similar to last year, as Nicole said, we're going to be having Denim Day, just encouraging people to share on social media with all of their pictures dressed in denim at home. And then just the final thing, which I added yesterday actually, is in our social media committee, we have different groups. So my group that I'm a part of, we were in charge of making a post for Anti-Street Harassment Week, which is the second or third week in April. Starts April 1st, ends the 17th. And so we came across this campaign called Chalk Back. And it's really cool. It's a youth-led chalk art movement where basically in a bunch of different cities around the world, people do chalk designs with either statistics, definitions of street harassment, messages of support, or messages that they've heard when they've been catcalled or when they've been harassed. And so we thought that this was a kind of perfect social distancing way of participating in a physical way as a part of SAAM. And so we're encouraging people on our teams and our volunteers to do some chalk art, take a picture of it, and then we're going to be posting photos of that throughout the week. So that's kind of our plan for SAAM. And like I said, if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out, but that's what we've got going on this year. So,
Thank you so much for all of that, Nicole and Sabrina. That looks like an amazing month. And I hope you guys have a lot of support to be able to do that. And I appreciate really taking into consideration, like, it is that reality that we are living in a pandemic. We are not immune to that. And how are we still showing up for our communities and for ourselves in trying to take some time? So are there any questions that folks have? Please feel free to unmute or in the chat. I've been seeing more folks creating stuff on Prezi, and it's pretty phenomenal in terms of its usability, and I need to learn more on it. All right. Perfect. So with that, I am going to bring on Angela Kim with Women's Shelter of Long Beach.
Share my slides. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Angela Kim, and I am the Outreach and Education Coordinator here at Women's Shelter of Long Beach. So I'll just go into a bit about Women's Shelter, and then I'll move on to all the things we have planned for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So Women's Shelter of Long Beach has been around since 1977, and we have two different facilities. So first, we have our Domestic Violence Resource Center. And here we do a lot of administrative support. We have different support groups for the clients that we serve. It's the donation drop-off center. We have our youth services and our outreach departments here as well. So we do a lot of prevention, education, outreach events, trainings, etc. And we also have our supportive housing facilities, and we have two currently. They are confidential. However, they are 24-hour services, which includes our 24-hour crisis hotline. So you can call at any time, at any point. Someone will always pick up the phone. And this place is really for immediate crisis intervention. So if you are in a very dangerous situation and you must flee, then you can give us a call and we will be able to assist you either at our own supportive housing facility, or if there's a place closer to you that might work better, or you'd like it to be in a different city, for example, then our staff will be able to help find a different location, find a different agency that will be able to house you. And we also provide comprehensive individual and family services. We have a lot of clients who do have children as well. And during your stay, it's usually on average around a month to a month and a half that our clients stay with us at the supportive housing facility. One of the main goals is to find long-term stable housing, whether that's an apartment, a transitional, maybe a family or friends place as well. So we are all inclusive. Our name, Women's Shelter of Long Beach, I know that could be a bit excluding, but we do never ever reject anyone, basically. So we do have all of our groups, all of our services, everything is provided in English and in Spanish as well. And we are in the process of translating all of our written physical material like brochures, flyers, all our website information into Khmer as well. But we accept people of all genders, LGBTQ folks, single parents, families, children, undocumented people, and also people with pets. I know that's a huge concern for people sometimes. What if I'm fleeing a situation and I have a pet or have several pets? We do work with ASPCA of Los Angeles to make sure that your pet is safe. And ASPCA actually has a program where they house your pets, and they help you with kind of the legal aspects of gaining custody of your pets as well. And at our supportive housing facility, we, like I said before, you can arrive anytime, any day. And that's not always the case for all domestic violence housing facilities. So we do make sure that folks know that we are 100% available at all hours of the day. And I see a question. What is family and friends? How does that work? Sonia, do you mind just clarifying family and friends in what context would you like me to answer this question? And
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. I'm taking notes, but I didn't understand what that means. You were talking about some sort of housing program or something. Rental, I kind of understood, absolutely. But I don't know what meant family and friends.
Yeah, absolutely. I can clarify. Thanks for explaining, Sonia. So that means anyone like a family member or a friend that they might have, if they feel like they could trust them, if they feel like they have a long-term relationship with that person, then our clients could end up staying with a family member or staying with a very close friend for perhaps a month or two as they transition into perhaps getting their own apartment or finding a long-term transitional place. Because on average, our clients end up staying for around 1 month to a month and a half. They can absolutely stay longer, but if they would like to stay longer, we usually connect them with other agencies that might provide transitional housing instead. But if they wish not to go to a transitional home, then we do ask, do you have family members? Do you have friends that are close? You trust them, you feel safe, they aren't in contact with the abuser? If so, would you be able to stay with them for a short period of time? And then we have a whole agreement written up with this family or friend. And then they go on to the place, and we still help them find long-term stable housing, but it's just so we can also provide more space for other clients who need assistance.
Okay, I thought it would be something like they're going there, so you're paying the family for the survivor to be there. Yeah, I thought I saw it some other way. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question. And then here at the Domestic Violence Resource Center, so at any given point, we serve around 120 families, and they receive support through our DVRC. And the average length of stay compared to the supportive housing facility is actually 12 months. Some stay actually longer. We have clients who stay for 5 years, and we still keep in touch with them as well. All right, so I want to move in a bit into telling you all about our new curriculum. So this is the first year that Women's Shelter of Long Beach is actually going to be hosting Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And this is because a lot of our clients, we realize, have a very specific trauma that they talk about when it comes to sexual abuse in a domestic violence, interpersonal violent relationship. And so a lot of our staff recently just got trained, went through the 65-hour sexual assault and domestic violence certification advocate training as well. And we're constantly looking for the next trainings to be a part of. So we're keeping up and making sure we're providing the most accurate, up-to-date resources as well. But we realized that a lot of our clients need more support when it comes to this, but also we looked at our outreach department, youth services department, and realized we would like to bring in the conversation of sexual abuse a bit more explicitly when we have outreach events. So we're starting a new curriculum, and this is because sexual violence in a relationship, it's rarely an isolated incident, and it oftentimes occurs alongside other forms of abusive behavior, whether that's physical, emotional, financial abuse. And in media representations, there is a narrative that sexual abuse is often done by the perpetrator, who's a stranger or someone you don't really know. But what we want to make more explicit is that sexual abuse occurs in relationships very much, and it occurs in marriage more than people often seem to recognize, and also more than media representations seem to explain. And so for our plan, what we want to do is share more knowledge, share more resources about sexual violence with the Long Beach community, whether that's starting with high school students, college students, community partners, other staff members at other agencies, service agencies as well, teachers, etc. Just anyone who is willing to learn more, wants to learn more about how to prevent sexual abuse. And so I have this graphic for you all, and then I'll go a bit into each of these events on our website as well. So yeah, we are going to be collaborating with many community partners, and actually I'll go right now to it. 1 second, everyone. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is our website for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and all of our information will be on here. You can register for all events on here. So all of our promotional materials, you'll be able to register just directly on this link. So we have a lot of statistics, explanations on what you can do. So the first event that we're hosting is a collaboration with Cal State Long Beach. They have a student organization, Heart at the Beach, basically a club that promotes various healthy patterns and behaviors in a relationship. And so what we'll be doing is presenting on rape culture and media representations. And what we really want to do is go into a very in-depth discussion of rape culture and how media has perpetuated the objectification and sexualization of women and their bodies. I also see a comment. Oh, thank you very much, Miranda. And so this is mainly geared towards college students. What we'll be doing is pulling a lot of different media representations, advertisements, movie clips, TV show clips, also different commercials as well that portray women's bodies in a very sexualized manner. And so what we want to do is have a very explicit conversation around how these different media representations aid in victim blaming, aid in this creation and perpetuation of rape culture. So all you have to do is register here, click on that, and it brings you to the registration link. All right, another event that we have is a collaboration with YWCA of Greater Los Angeles. It's entitled When Home Hurts, Understanding Where Intimate Partner Violence and Sexual Abuse Intersect. We thought this was a wonderful collaboration because the Y, they are very, very great experts and great resources on sexual assault, sexual abuse, sexual violence. And Women's Shelter, we believe that we are experts on domestic violence. We do a lot of domestic violence services and provide different support groups and whatnot. So this is because we want to have a conversation around the intersections between sexual abuse and domestic violence. And so in this hour-and-a-half long presentation, we'll be of course, going through the power and control wheel, the domestic violence cycle, consent and whatnot, but also having a very engaging conversation with our attendees on how these two can really work together when an abusive person continues to control and have power over their victim, and how sexual abuse can differ from perhaps financial abuse, emotional abuse, and how they can also be interrelated as well. And then we have Taiwan to End Abuse. So this is a wonderful event created by Mama Bear Effect, and it's been going on since 2015, and it's held in April because April is also Child Abuse Prevention Month. And so what Mama Bear Effect, their social media campaign is, what you do is you wear a tie and you download the Taiwan to End Abuse sign, which you can download right here, and you write down one way you believe that we can all prevent child abuse. You take a selfie, you post it on social media with the various hashtags, and it's a really wonderful way to just promote more awareness on the very, very horrific problem of child abuse. So I really encourage you all to check out taiwan.org if you'd like to learn more, and if you'd like to participate as well. Perhaps the staff in your agency would like to participate, or perhaps you as an individual would like to participate. And then for Denim Day, we don't have anything specific like an event planned, but we are going to do a social media campaign similar to what other folks have been mentioning as well. And so what we'll be doing is doing a social media campaign during this month where we focus on what is Denim Day, what is the history, what can we do to make sure that things like this don't ever happen again, and also taking pictures with our staff in denim attire, posting it on Denim Day as well. And then we also have a zine making workshop. Maybe folks aren't too familiar with zines, maybe some people are, but it's kind of like smaller magazines. They're really easy to make, they're affordable, they are easy to transport and share, but we are working with zine maker Donald Collins, and he will be leading us in a workshop. It's a self-care oriented workshop, and basically he'll be discussing the origin, purpose, nature of analog and digital zine making. And he'll be going into the healing benefits of creating zines. And then you'll be able to have some space and time to create your own zine as well. And he'll also be providing a downloadable resource of links to more zine tutorials, websites of interesting zine makers, and a list of stores where you can find zines in person in California once it's safe. And so we have materials needed here below. However, if you don't have access to these materials, but you would still like to participate, we do provide these materials at no charge. So people can email me if they'd like to arrange for pickup as well. And then lastly, what we have is affirmative consent presentations. So this has been one of the biggest things that Women's Shelter has been working on for the past few months. We're getting ready to gear up and start presenting in April. We have around 11 affirmative consent presentations booked in college classrooms. They will be taking place virtually, but basically we are presenting on the definitions of affirmative consent based off of California education law. Yes means yes. And what we want to do is place these college students into these hypothetical situations of sexual decision making so they become more comfortable asking for consent, receiving consent. And we really want to place them into these hypothetical scenarios because when else are you going to be able to practice unless you're about to have sex, for example. And we'll also go over college Title IX reporting process, confidentiality, resources, depending on the college that we're presenting for. And so we do recommend this presentation for folks 18 or older. They are geared for college students, and we really, really want to make sure that we are spreading the information and news about our new affirmative consent presentations, especially as students start to go back to college in person. For example, a first year or second year student, they have not ever stepped on foot into a college campus yet. Perhaps their first entire year of college was done remotely. So now they'll start to maybe go to parties. They might have kickbacks with friends. They might want to try drinking, for example. There might be an influence of alcohol. And so around 50% of sexual assault cases happen in the first few months of college. So we want to make sure that we get the news about this affirmative consent presentation out there, and perhaps we'll be presenting more in August or so, August, September, October, when the red zone type of weeks are where there's a lot of heightened sexual assault cases. Alrighty, but that is all from me. Stop sharing. And yeah, well, thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to listen. We're really excited that this is our first kind of time really exploring sexual assault awareness events in Women's Shelter of Long Beach, but we are geared up, we are ready to go, and we would also love to support all the other events going on and learn from you all, and really take lead after you all as well. So thank you for listening to me, everyone.
Thank you so much, Angela. And it's really exciting that I knew this was your first time going into it, and I love that you've got a full menu of options for folks to participate on, and especially with the zines, being able to organize pickups for folks to be able to still participate if they don't have supplies. That's really fantastic. So do folks have questions? If not, I would love to hear what folks are doing for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, or kind of how you're partnering with collaborative agencies in your area and what that's looking like. And if you're like, I don't even know where to start, that's real too.
I can go. I'm not doing a whole lot. I'm doing a lot of stuff on social media, and I am the only person doing that. And since I am part of the Child Abuse Prevention Council, I also have to do it for Child Abuse Prevention Month. So it's a double whammy. I am going to be decorating our front window because it is on Main Street for child abuse and sexual assault awareness. I'm making pom-poms as we speak. So that's what I got going on.
Very nice. Yeah, I remember being the only prevention person in a dual organization in a conservative area where it was kind of challenging to have these conversations, and social media is one of those places where it's nice in the freedom, but it can also be really challenging, especially trying to keep up with like having a set schedule of what you're going to be doing and what you're going to be highlighting across, you know, whether you can handle daily or if it's going to be each week. There's different opportunities there. Absolutely. All right. How about for other folks? We're a very quiet group today.
Well, I'll go ahead and mention some. My name is Ana Navarro, and I'm with Women Haven. And we usually, the one that is in charge would be the one with outreach. She would be doing all the activities and all that. I know that in the past, we have been, assisting and helping, and we participated in the denim. I don't know this year what are the plans, but I know that we do participate, but until they give us the go. We usually in the housing program, we're in charge of housing our survivors coming from shelter or from the community. We usually decorate our office depending on the month, but once I was hearing all the information, I thought, oh, okay, maybe we can start decorating, putting information in our windows. You guys gave us a lot of ideas, and so not only leaving everything to our outreach person, but we'll start, assisting them and helping them, because I know it is very important. And thank you for all the information that was provided. So like I mentioned, I know that we have helped participated in the denim and other ones, and you guys gave great idea. So we'll be taking pictures and sending them over as a group. Thank you.
I wanted to thank everyone. I've loved listening to all these ideas. Angela, I especially appreciated the critical media discussion. I think that's so needed. It's so frustrating to keep seeing sexual violence as a plot device in these shows. And I think these critical conversations are very important. And Stephen King, I'm looking at you. Sorry to call that out, but I had to say it. So one thing I wanted to mention is, you might have seen it yesterday, Valor California, a project of ValorUS, and the partnership debuted our prevention budget advocacy campaign. So you probably know every single year we go to the Capitol and we ask for ongoing funding to prevent sexual and domestic violence. And we keep getting one-time funding every year, with the exception of last year when funding was not renewed for prevention, as you already know, and we actually had to defend FY19 funding. So what we are trying to do is to request $15 million in ongoing funding to prevent sexual and domestic violence. The action alert link is dropped in the chat right now. So there are two ways to get involved. And this is, since the legislature is going to be considering this budget request, from today all the way through April, then there's the May revise where we'll see initially if we're included or not. April is a really key time to mobilize for supporting this campaign. There are two ways to get involved. One is to sign on your organization. There's a form for that. And then there's another link where all individuals, folks who work for domestic violence and sexual violence organization, or even just anyone in the state of California who is concerned with these issues, they can also send a pre-made email directly to key legislative staff who are reviewing our request. So I just wanted to put that out there, and I really thank you for looking it over.
And if folks aren't familiar, some of the ways that the joint budget ask that the partnership and ValorUS, formerly CalCASA, has participated in the last few years. There were two different funding streams that were created as a result. One was the FX for prevention, and that was 14 programs. And then this year there were 33 programs who were funded through SD, which is really phenomenal growth for our state. And we absolutely want to keep those programs going and being able to bring on new folks as well, because we know that prevention is where we need to go, and really needing to prioritize that in our work. So if folks are wondering, are we allowed to advocate? Are we allowed to, do, what's the word, lobbying. We're going to be having a conversation in April with folks through our prevention peer network. So keep an eye out for that link with Boulder Advocacy and talking about what that can look like and what our ability is to participate, because we do have a policy advocacy day that is coming very soon. And yes, I am shamelessly plugging our event because it is extremely important to be able to come out and participate with, to talk with legislative partners throughout the state. So I'm wondering, has anybody on the call ever participated in a policy advocacy day before? Well, this is my first time with nobody has. All right. So what we do is it is going to be completely virtual. Obviously, we are in a pandemic, and so we are working around that. This is our second time doing Policy Advocacy Day virtually. Thank you so much for putting the link. I was trying to find that as I talk, and I find that I just cannot do both. So I can really keep up. Quentin, absolutely. I remember that you have participated. If you're willing to speak to that experience, that would be awesome. What we do is provide you with a lot of support on what are the talking points, who are your legislators, who are you going to be meeting, and making sure that folks are meeting with their local representatives as much as humanly possible. And within the virtual, you're going to have a team that you're going to be with. So if there's that, especially having been the lone prevention person and a lot of times feeling in that space, we're going to have you with a group of folks. We schedule them meetings with very specific times. You'll also have a staff person from the partnership who will be there and supporting you and assisting you through taking care of all of the technological pieces. So if anyone's like, oh, I'm not as familiar with Zoom, it's okay. All you have to do is join and we will take care of all of the logistics. And then just being able to have a conversation with either the representative or their staff person to talk about the importance of prevention and to share some of what that impact has been in your communities and what that looks like. So I don't know if anyone is interested, but we do have that piece coming up. And I know the Policy Advocacy Day link is up for folks to be able to check out and see more information. And like I said, we will be having a conversation on that next month where we're going to dive deep into all of what we are and are not allowed to do and how that looks. And with it being virtual, the beauty is you don't have to travel, not having to do hotel accommodations, per diem, all those fun mileage, and my flying and my driving, all the things. You can participate from the comfort of your home, your office. I know some folks are back in office, some folks are not. So there's different ways for folks to be able to participate. And if you have questions, absolutely reach out to our policy team. They are absolutely amazing. That would be, if folks have met them before, that's Christine Smith and Krista Nimsick. So I will get that contact information and some follow-up in our follow-up email for everyone. I know that's a huge amount of information we're throwing at y'all, but hopefully this has been a good use of folks' time to learn about the different activities that are happening. I so appreciate Waymakers and Women's Shelter of Long Beach, and also our sibling coalition, ValorUS, for joining and talking about their toolkit. And I really appreciate they're going to be making that available for folks. So